If you're a new or busy ESL teacher, you're probably looking for some fun games to play in your classes. My first video on 7 low prep ESL games has over 23,000 views, so it looks like it's time for a part 2. The first game is called 10-word sentence, and you'll want your students to either have a whiteboard and marker, or they can use their notebooks. You can put them into pairs or small groups for this game. The way the game works is you're going to give your students some sort of grammar point or vocabulary word that they must include in their sentence. They have to write it in exactly 10 words and include punctuation. For example, if you told your students, present perfect, go. Now they have to work in their pairs or small groups as fast as they can to come up with their sentence, and then when they're ready, they can raise their hand and show you. So for example, if they wrote something like this, I have seen the new film in the cinema twice, and there's punctuation at the end, capital letter, everything is spelled correctly, then you can give them the points. But if they've made a mistake, you can just tell them simply, nope, keep trying, or you can underline or circle any sort of mistakes that they've made. This game can be used for elementary through advanced, but I've typically used this for intermediate, upper int, and advanced students. My students absolutely love this game. It does get quite competitive, but it's a lot of fun, and it's a lot of writing practice, and then they have to communicate with their partner. Before we get to game number 2, I just wanted to say welcome if you're new here. I'm Jamie, a certified teacher, and I love helping people teach English abroad and online. If you need any extra help, then just fill out my survey, which is linked in the description box. The second game is Boggle. Now, you may have played this game yourself when you were younger, but this is a perfect game for ESL learners. What you can do is Google Boggle boards on the internet, and you'll get lots of examples, or of course you can just create your own. I like to use this as a warmer for my students, so I will put a Boggle board up on the whiteboard or on the screen, and then I will divide my students into pairs or small groups. I will give them a set amount of time, and they have to find as many words as they can, but remind them that they cannot repeat any letters. So if there are 2 S's in your Boggle board, they can have words with 2 S's, but if there's only 1, they can't. So just be careful of that. When the time is up, I go pair by pair or group by group, and I have them tell me their word and even spell it out. I'll write it up on the board, and then if any other group has this word, everyone crosses it out. So the winner is the group that has the most unique words. The third easy ESL game is called Just a Minute, and you will need a timer so you can give your students just a minute. This is a game that's better for upper intermediate to advanced, and it's working on their fluency. The idea is you're going to give them some sort of topic, and you're going to start with 1 student. The goal is to talk about this topic for 1 minute. And this can be quite challenging because they cannot hesitate and they cannot repeat anything. They also cannot go off the topic. Let's look at an example. Say that your topic is pizza. So your first student starts to talk about pizza. I like to eat pizza. It's a food that's typical in Italy, and at this point, hopefully one of your other students is raising their hand. You're going to stop the clock and ask that student that raised their hand first, what did they notice? In this case, there was hesitation. Now, that second student that raised their hand, they need to complete the minute talking about pizza. If you want to make it more challenging, don't let them repeat any of the information that was said by the previous student or students. But if you want to make it a little bit easier, you can allow them to repeat anything that was said. Once the minute runs out, if anyone completes it, then you can choose a new topic. This is a great way for your students to practice for debates, public speaking, or just improve their fluency in general. The fourth game is called Back-to-Back Describe and Draw. I like to do an example with the whole class first, just to show them how it works. So I will draw up something crazy like this, maybe using some letters, some symbols, and shapes, and I will go over the vocabulary with them, like dotted line, zigzag line, swirl, and then also the actual things I want them to learn, like above, below, to the right, to the left, in the upper right-hand corner, that kind of information. I will show them this and have them draw something similar. So one person per group or in their partners is going to draw something like mine, and then they need to tell their partner about it, but they're back to back, so they cannot see each other's drawings. That one person is speaking, they're going to have to explain where everything is. The other person is listening and then trying to draw the same. I would say that this game can be repeated 1, 2, maybe 3 rounds, but students do get quite tired, so just keep that in mind. Game number 5 is called Hot Seat, and you can think of it like a more advanced version of Taboo. I like to play this game in groups, so you'll have one person from each group sit in a chair with their back to the blackboard. Now you're going to write up a sentence for your student to guess, and the other people in their group are going to give them some clues, maybe mime some of the words, but remind them that they cannot say any of the words in the sentence. For example, if your sentence is, "I am watching the volleyball game," your students might start with present continuous, right? So they can give some clues on the grammar that's used, but they cannot say watching or they cannot say am, but they can give a few clues like that. Then for they might say definite article, they might mime playing volleyball. Once one of the guessers thinks they know the entire sentence, they're going to raise their hand, remind them not to do this, and look at the sentence behind them, because a lot of them will want to do that. Now they will need to tell you the exact sentence with correct pronunciation in order to win the point. If they make a mistake, then you can go to the next group that raises their hand. This can get quite competitive, so just be prepared. Another tip for this game is you can show them how to use their fingers. So in this sentence, there are 6 words, so they can say, okay, this is the first word, second word, third word, and that can help them guess the sentence, and the person who's guessing keep track of all the words as well. This is a game that's great for probably intermediate, upper int, and advanced, and you can make these sentences pretty long and crazy for your more advanced students. You can include your students' names in the sentences or things you've been talking about, and it can be a lot of fun. The 6th game is called Running Dictation, and it's going to get your students up and out of their seats and practicing their listening, reading, writing, and speaking skills. This game is best for intermediate through advanced, but it can be used for lower levels depending on your sentences. How you play the game is you're going to choose 10 sentences, including the grammar point that you've studied or maybe the vocabulary that you're working with. You're going to write those 10 sentences on a piece of paper and preferably put them outside of the classroom. You'll need to divide your students into pairs and send the first person to look at the first sentence on the piece of paper. They need to read the sentence, memorize it, go back to their partner, and tell their partner what the sentence is. Their partner needs to listen and then write down what they've heard. If they notice that maybe their partner made a mistake, they can repeat the sentence. And sometimes you'll see that somebody goes to remember the sentence and they're halfway back to their partner, but they forget it. So let them know that that's okay to go back and take a second look at that piece of paper. Now you can make this a race if you like. So the first group to get through all the sentences, and then you can correct the errors after, or you can just keep it at a normal pace and not make it a race, depending on how competitive your class is. The 7th game is called Survivor, and it can be used for any level because it's a review game. You're going to be creating questions based on things that you've studied or you want your students to practice a little bit more. And a shout out to my teacher that I worked with when I did my student teaching, because I learned this game from her. What you're going to do is put this image up on the whiteboard. Have one line per group, and then they can give themselves some sort of group name. The dots are for questions that are correct. So for each dot that they go up, that means that they've answered one question correctly. Now this pit of doom at the bottom is where they go if they get a question incorrectly. So you'll find that maybe one team is leading, doing a great job, they mess up, and suddenly they're down, and then the underdog comes up and now they're winning. So it does get a little bit crazy, but it's a lot of fun. What you're going to do is create different questions, could be related to the grammar that you've done recently. They could be small challenges. Maybe they have to write a sentence or they have to speak for 1 minute, whatever you want them to do, just a general review question, and play it in this format. It's so much fun and I hope your students love it. Which of these games are you going to try in your classroom? Leave a comment down below. You can find me on Instagram at ESL Teacher 365 and give this video a thumbs up if you'd like me to make a part 3 with even more easy ESL games. Happy teaching!